Like suppose, let us take now. Suppose when I am sitting in cycle, is it cycle automatically will go?
No, sir.
More amount of understanding unbalanced forces in such a way that we have to apply the force on our pedaling, which can resist the air friction. Is it yes or no? And as well as the ground friction. Here, air is also opposing our motion, as well as the ground is also opposing our motion. So that we have to apply the more amount of force, understanding, which can dominate this ground friction as well as the air friction. So then only we will start moving forward. Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And suppose you see, if you throw a ball, the ball is rolling on the ground. Is it the ball is continuously moving, or else it is coming to the rest? If you
To the rest.
if you throw a ball on the ground, after traveling certain distance, is it coming to the rest or it is continuously moving?
Coming to the rest, sir.
Coming to the rest. So in this case, what is happening? Why it is coming to the rest? Because some opposing force is there. Who is that force? Who is that force? Force of friction, which is exerted by the ground. So when the ball is rolling on the ground, then the ground is exerting opposite forces to this ball. So that is why once the ball is traveled to the certain distance, finally it will comes to the rest. Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, you may notice it, once again I am saying you, suppose when you are cycling, suddenly if you want to relax, if you stop pedaling and you are not applying brakes also, is it our bicycle will travel same speed continuously, or else if it comes to rest slowly,
It will stop, sir.
finally
Sir, come to rest, sir.
certain distance, it will automatically will stop. Is it yes or no? The speed will continuously reduces and it will come.
Yes, sir.
Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
When it is in uniform motion, it must be in uniform motion, correct? Why it is coming to the rest? Because here again unbalanced
Force
force.
of friction.
That is what? A force of friction, because the tires are contacting with the ground. So that when we are not applying the force and by pedaling, so that this force of friction slowly keep on dominating this speed of the bicycle, so that the speed will reduces. Finally, at certain situation, the friction is more than this the force which we applied becoming zero, so that the bicycle will comes to the rest. And as well as not only the ground, when we are traveling, you can see few times when the suddenly air will come opposite to us, our speed will decreases. Have you noticed it? Air will push us backside.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Suppose see, when I'm moving in this direction, wind is also moving in the same direction. Then automatically wind will push us to move forward. Our speed will increases. But when the wind is coming opposite to our direction, so that what will happen? Our speed will decreases, because a force of air is acting opposite to our motion. So that by the time we have to more and more we have to push the cycle. Means like we have to apply more force on cycling and pedaling. Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That is the reason. Do you understand? So in this all the cases, what is happening? A moving body can come to rest, or the body which is in rest, we can start moving, or else the body which is in motion, we can increase the speed, or else we can decrease the speed, or else we can change the speed. Because of all what? Because of all this is happening. Whom? Because of
Friction.
unbalanced forces. Because of whom?
Unbalanced forces.
If there is no unbalanced forces, then we cannot do. Suppose you imagine, I am cycling, I am sitting on my bicycle is in motion. Now, if no unbalanced force of friction, if no air resistance, then what will happen, Ra? If no air resistance, no friction, what will happen? Is it possible to stop the bicycle? Is it possible to stop?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Continuously moving forever. Is it yes or no? Suppose I have
Yes, sir.
and the ball is rolling on the ground. If there is no friction of ground, then what will happen? The ball will never come to rest. Continuously it is traveling on. Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You should remember. If there is no unbalanced forces, we cannot stop a moving body. If there is no unbalanced forces, we cannot move a stationary body. Do you understand, Ra? Yes, that is. Suppose
Yes,
you,
sir.
Sir.
suppose you see, when our car is traveling, is it your father is while your father is driving? Is it always he is traveling with the same uniform speed, Or else few times speed increases or decreases? Increases or decreases?
Sir, increase and decreases.
Definitely will be fluctuations, because suppose see, I am traveling with 100 kilometer per hour. Suddenly turn will come. Turn will come. What will happen? Can I go with the straight? Understanding? Can I go with the straight road?
No, sir.
Can I go with the same speed?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Then also unbalanced forces will make you met an accident and will make you to crush. Is it yes or no? So by that time we have
Yes,
to
sir.
increase the force and we have to increase the force. So always, because of these unbalanced forces only, we can change the direction as well as we can stop a moving body, or else we can increase the speed of a moving body, or else we can decrease the speed of a moving body, or else we can bring the body to the rest from the motion, or from rest to motion, motion to rest. So this is what everything is happening because of unbalanced forces. So in this world, if we take any action, if there is an action, means in the sense of definitely some forces are acting. What is that force, Ra? What is it?
Balanced and
Unbalanced forces.
unbalanced forces.
No balanced forces, only
Unbalanced forces.
forces. Because I am lifting this, means in the sense of what? Unbalanced force only. If there is no balance, if there is no unbalanced forces, I cannot carry anything, I cannot lift anything, I cannot do any action. Understand? So that is the reason you should remember. But you remember, suppose you can take understanding. So in this chapter, I will use basically, whenever I will use the forces, you have to remember unbalanced forces. Do you understand, Ra? Because I cannot say
sir.
usually unbalanced forces. So that is why we can talk
Okay, sir.
understanding the forces acting on your body is usually understand. Whenever I will say the forces are acting on this body, means in the sense of which forces, Ra?
Unbalanced forces.
Understanding. So we cannot use the word
Yes,
unbalanced understanding with force again and again for our general understanding conversations. So that is why, for our sake of convenience, instead of unbalanced forces, I can use what? That term I can use as a
Forces.
understand. If I will use a forces, so means in the sense of what? Means in the sense of
Unbalanced forces.
is unbalanced forces. You
Unbalanced
understand?
forces.
So, if we'll understand these unbalanced forces, next we will write understanding a definitions of Newton's law of motion. That is our next concept. So there also understanding we are using a term called as unbalanced forces. If you are desired understanding, every time you can write unbalanced forces, or else if you are feeling difficulty like our convenience, you can write forces. So wherever I am using a force from this onwards, from this chapter, you should use, you have to imagine what is that?
Unbalanced forces.
Unbalanced forces.
So everything understanding. So you may see that whatever the cases you can, suppose the cart has been continuously pulling by the bull or else by the horse. How it is happening, Ra? If the cart is pulled by the horse, then horse need to apply more friction than the ground. Is it yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Then only the cart will start
Yes,
moving.
sir.
If not, there is no motion in the cart. Do you understand? So that is what you should remember.
Sir.
So the body will continue with the uniform speed unless acting upon by unbalanced forces. Yes. If there is no kind of unbalanced forces, the body which is in rest remains in rest. The body which is in motion remains in continuously in motion. That is what you can remember. Because unbalanced forces of friction opposes its motion all the time. So that is why the body will comes to rest even though we are not applying any kind of forces after certain time, because of force of friction is present there. Do you understand, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And
Yes, sir.
you will notice the scientist name called as
Yeah.
Galileo. Do you know Galileo?
Yes, sir.
G-A-L-I.
Yes, sir.
So Galileo, you may heard, he has said that, understanding, Galileo, who said that objects move with constant speed, understanding, when no forces are acting. That is what you should remember. If no force is acting on your body, that is what we are studying from first. Is it yes or no? If no forces are acting on your body, then the body
Sir.
is always what? With the constant speed, or else uniform speed. Is it yes or no? All of you.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
This is what you should remember.
Yes,
Even
sir.
that is only said by Mr. Galileo. Understanding, the bodies which there is no understanding opposing forces, or else there is no unbalanced forces, then objects always moves with a constant force and a constant speed if no forces are acting them. So no forces means what forces? Force means what? Unbalanced forces. Do you understand, Ingra? If no forces are acting,
Yes, sir.
body will move with a constant speed. The body will move with a constant speed. So that is only even said by the Mr. Galileo. So you'll understand this. This is only called as what we should call unbalanced forces. If you'll understand,
Unbalanced forces.
we will read the classwork, and from next class we will study Newton's laws of motion. Very, 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 very important in our life for our future studies also. Okay. Now you write unbalanced forces. So unbalanced means what? The resultant force must not become what? Not become
Zero.
zero is called as unbalanced forces. If it will become zero, if it will become zero,
Balanced forces.
Balanced forces.
it not become zero, unbalanced forces. So that is what you should remember. So what is the important forces for you? Balanced or unbalanced in our daily life? Balanced or
Unbalanced.
Unbalanced forces.
Unbalanced, sir.
Understand is the most important in our daily life. Right, all of you. Unbalanced forces.
நான் எழுத போறேன்
Forces.
எழுத போறேன்
Unbalanced forces. If the resultant of if the resultant of if the resultant of if the resultant of all the forces if the resultant of all the forces acting on a body if the resultant of all the forces acting on a body is not zero is not zero is not zero is not zero, comma, the forces are called unbalanced forces. Is not zero, comma, the forces are called unbalanced forces. Unbalanced forces. Next point. Unbalanced forces can move a stationary body or unbalanced forces can move a stationary body or they can stop a moving body or they can stop a moving body. Example, an unbalanced force of our push an unbalanced force of our push an unbalanced force of our push produces motion in the
Sir, this is example.
example. An unbalanced force of our push produces motion in the toy car. Do you understand? Produces motion in the toy car. So you can draw this car and you can write force of reaction and force of gravity. Both will get cancelled. Is it yes or no? Both will get cancelled. Cancel in the sense of both will become nullifying. What is the meaning of nullify? Nullify means becoming zero. Understand? Nullify. So these forces are both equal and opposite. So that just you can imagine like a strike, and both you can write as nullified means it will become zero. But here force of push is greater than this force of friction. This force of friction is much less. Why not? Because of these. That is what you should remember. So this diagram you draw. Draw this diagram before. Down.
Sir, an unbalanced.
Huh? This is the diagram. Is it okay, Pradosh? Okay. This is the diagram I can write. And draw how to draw a car you should learn because it is useful for us in future. Okay. Every time this chapter we have to draw every time car. Wait.
Completed, sir.
Wait. Don't do it. Is it completed, all of you? Okay. So now down you should write. Down below this you should write. There is a net unbalanced force. There is a net unbalanced force. There is a net unbalanced force acting on the toy car. There is a net unbalanced force. There is a net unbalanced force acting on the toy car. Acting on the toy car. Acting on the toy car, which makes the car. Which makes the car. There is a net unbalanced force acting on the toy car, which makes the car move from its position of rest. 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 Rest. Do you understand, Ra? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
There
Yes,
is
sir.
unbalanced force. That what is that net unbalanced force? Push. Is it yes or no? Because our push only it is coming. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
That is what you should remember. So that is what the example. Now below that you should write. To move a stationary object, 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 comma, we have to push it. We have to push it. To move a stationary object, comma, we have to push it. We have to push it with a greater force. To move a stationary object, next point, to move a stationary object, comma, we have to push it. We have to push it with a greater, with a force greater than the opposing force of friction. 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 Do you understand, Ra? Yes or no? All of you?
Sir.
Yes. So that is what. Next point. When an unbalanced force acting on your body, when an unbalanced force acting on your body, when an unbalanced force acting on your body, comma, when an unbalanced force acting on your body, comma, it produces motion in the body. It produces motion in the body. It produces motion in the body. Same way, it can also stop a moving body. In the same, it produces motion in the body, comma, in the same, it can also stop a moving body. It can also stop a moving body. It can also stop a moving body. Do you understand, Ra?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? All of you?
Sir.
Yes. So
Yes, sir.
forces are important for our in our life? Which forces are important in our life? Unbalanced forces. Understand?
Unbalanced forces.
Unbalanced force.
Usually in the chapter we will use forces. So forces means you should remember it is always, it means that an unbalanced force. Understand? So
Balanced forces.
and the scientist name called as Galileo. That point, like, last point is that is Galileo. Galileo, 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 or Galileo you can call it. Galileo. Galileo said that Galileo said that objects move with objects move with. Galileo said that objects move with. Galileo said objects move with constant speed. Objects move with constant speed. Objects move with constant speed. Constant speed when no forces acting on them. When no forces acting on them. Do you understand? And no forces acting on them. So that is about this. Is it okay, Ra?
Yes, sir.
This is all about the understanding balanced and unbalanced forces. So with this, I will stop. From here, we'll continue.